Who was somebody that you didn't really particularly like, maybe interviewing, not really working with, but like as far as wrestler wise, was there anybody out that was like just out there you didn't particularly like working with them as much?
Well, yeah, there were. Well, people always ask me all the time about Warrior,
Mhm.
and Jim was one of those you didn't know what you were going to get, but he could be really, you know, prickly when you were doing stuff with him in the interviews. If of course, you could tell him, or he could have an idea, or they could tell him where he wanted to go. But you had those interviews, just my God, to this day, I still can't figure them out. Uh, you can listen to them. It's like Bob Dylan lyrics or something, where,
Yep.
okay, I guess that means something. There are words, and his fans loved it. They loved it to this day. I think they have websites devoted to uh, Jim's interviews. But it made it difficult for someone like me because you didn't know where he was going. And then there were other times where, you know, Vince was very, very adamant about me keeping my credibility. I was kind of the normal, the credible journalist supposedly, who was kind of observing this and bringing that to people. That was very important to him, which I thought was, that was my gimmick. And so he didn't like the guys. Every once in a while, they could grab my lapel or something and rough me up a little bit, but it wasn't you couldn't take it too far. And with Jim, I never knew. He would, go off sometimes, and you'd be, dude, you can't do that. You can't. But that's what the way it was with him. But I definitely, uh, loved and hated him at times. I think he would be the best way to describe it, because I did feel for him. He was thrown into a lot at the time. He didn't come from the old school where most of the guys did back then. They came from families, generations of wrestlers. And there was this collision of when Vince started bringing people in from the outside. I was one of those guys. It took a long time for me to get in and for those guys to trust me. And you need that when you're doing interviews with them, because for both of you to feel that way, because once you are comfortable, no matter where they go, you can help them. And because you know them and they trust you, and the interviews are better that way. Uh, but he was thrown into this world, and the fame came really quickly. It wasn't a matter of years, where some guys, it takes a while. Someone like Bret Hart, where when he came in there and they didn't even know what to do with him. But if you think back then, they had all these ideas. They were going to at one point have him ride a horse. And I mean, it was just crazy stuff. But he had to find his way, and he was given the opportunity to get there. And then with the Hart Foundation and everything that went on from there. But think about the Warrior. When he got in there, he was shaking the ropes and dun, 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 you hear that music. And it was all, his rise was so quick. And it's the same with any amount of fame, whether it's as an actor or a performer or a sports star or whatever. When it comes at you that fast, it's very difficult to deal with. And then when you don't have the greatest people around you advising you and you're listening to them, it doesn't bode well. And so, sure, could he have been nicer, I think, or handled it better? Yeah. But at the same time, he was deep down, I think, a good person, and just was lost in that world. And I don't know. The very few people who would have been able to handle it